lean on your deeper why. Like, why are you doing this business in the first place? And that should also go through all of your conversations, partnership conversations, client conversations, sales conversations. If that thread is always there, it will look and feel organic.
You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 437. And today, let's unpack what it takes to create strategic and profitable business partnerships. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs and ripple making experts. It's your host, Melanie Benson, Authority Amplifier. And today I've got a guest joining us, someone who I really admire and enjoy so much, who specializes in creating very powerful strategic partnerships. Now, this topic is very poignant for me. It's very powerful to create aligned business partnerships. But I want to bring to the conversation that not all people, not all of your peers are meant to be great strategic partnerships. There's a lot of components that go in to making sure it's aligned, there's synergy, there's a win-win-win value proposition. So keep in mind that today, our guest is laying the foundation for something really powerful. She's a specialist in this area. You want to take really good notes, but also know you need to do your due diligence and you need to get really crystal clear who's a great collaboration partner and who's not. Now, before I open up the conversation to you, I want to share a free resource with you that can help you discover this. This is my framework for borrowing and activating million-dollar visibility streams. At the essence, these are collaboration partners and strategic aligned peers who we have so much value we can provide each other's audiences, and we're being very intentional about collaborating together. And many of these collaborations start with one simple step: interviewing each other on our shows. This is a great way to date and get to know each other. I unpack how the whole strategy works in this framework. If you'd like to get it, head to melaniebenson.com/framework. I will link that up in the show notes. It's absolutely my gift to you today. And what I want you to do is when you download it, give yourself a self-audit, really look at each of the components that go into really being able to develop that kind of visibility stream. This has been the lifeblood of my business for 25 years, and I can't wait to share what I have figured out works, what I have proven and developed over and over and over again, and what I now teach people in my Authority Accelerator. So this will be a great quick start for you. Now get ready to take some amazing notes and learn from our powerful guest today. Welcome back, Amplifiers. I have an extraordinary guest today. Her name is Mack, and we're going to be talking about the secret sauce behind strategic partnerships that build your business without getting burned. So let me introduce Marie. She's a business strategist, and she has an expertise in strategic online business partnerships for talented coaches and consultants with a passion for growing and scaling their businesses. And I met Marie because she was organizing some really amazing partnerships. So Marie, thank you for joining me today. We were talking about in the green room that, we both are really passionate about collaborations and partnerships, and yet there's a lot of confusion and misinformation about what it takes to get to that strategic level where there's actually results that are moving the needle. So we're going to unpack that today.
Yeah, I'm very excited, Melanie. Thank you for having me. Thank you for
You're
being an amazing
welcome.
host and creating a good space for this. I think we have a passion, so the conversation is going to be really, I think, rich today. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And so what I want to just set up as context as you're listening in today is Marie and I have both been doing partnerships with different approaches and different backgrounds for many, many years. And we really see this as kind of a collaborative conversation, if you will, even from both of our point of view. But Marie's really the expert. She's the one that organizes these kinds of partnerships for her clients. And we are going to lean specifically into strategic alignment. So let's just first like clarify, what does that mean to you, Marie?
Yeah, that's an important word. I was just on a call today with a new introduction, a new partner. And I really had to be intentional about how we do partnerships because when people hear joint ventures or, oh, we're going to make a deal on something, it feels very transactional. It feels very like you'll send me this many leads and I'll send you this many leads. And that is what a partnership is. But strategic partnerships, and the reason we use that is because we see partnerships with different business owners as a long-term investment. And I think when you put the word strategic behind it, people go into a conversation differently. It's not like I'm going to, mail you, you mail me. It's more like, how can we work together first to benefit our audiences, but second to really like increase visibility for our businesses. And both of those things take some intention and strategy around it. It's not haphazard and it doesn't happen in one like 30-minute quick call with a partner. Does that make sense on the difference between a
Mm.
strategic partnership and like a JV partnership?
Yeah, and I think we use those words so interchangeably often, that they get a little diluted. So I'm glad you're kind of creating framework for both of them. And I think what we're focusing here today is really on the strategic piece of it.
Right.
And so some of the questions that I know people ask all the time is, well, how do I like know if somebody's really the right partner to strategically promote with? So I would love to hear like what are some of the factors or conditions that you look for or you help your clients identify that would make a good partnership?
Yeah, especially for new to partnership world people. Think if you've never done a partnership before or created that kind of relationship with another business owner, it's very intentional. We were just talking in the green room, like you will have an ideal client profile that you've created when you're selling a product or service or whatever you're doing online. We do the same thing with our partner profile. We have an ideal partner profile. So first we look internally, like who do we want to work with? What kind of factors do they have? And that might be who their audience is, or, are their audience made up of women under the age of 40? Do they have a certain email list size? Do they have a certain visibility on their podcast? You can create a partner profile before you ever reach out to somebody. And that really helps with the vetting process because you can externally look at a potential partner and either qualify or disqualify them before you even do a like an outreach to them. We have an entire system around this. We've trained several different VAs to do the outreach process first and vet them before we ever send a hello, a hey, we'd like to chat, because we don't want to waste anybody's time. And I think that that's one of the biggest things is people are so inundated with what kind of messages they get in. They want there to be intentional messages around like, hey, Melanie, I see you. I see you're doing a podcast. I would love to partner with you. I feel like this is a good fit because like we can create a really intentional message around that if we've done our homework beforehand. But you can't do that if you haven't sat down and really thought about who would be a good partner for you.
And I love that we're going into this who's going to be a good partner and kind of doing your due diligence to get clear what you want before moving out there into the world. Because here's where I see things kind of get a little sideways is people are thinking, yes, I want to partner with people. I know that's going to open up more doors. It's going to open up new audiences. It's going to open up new client referrals, right? But then you're asking people for the wrong reasons, or you're kind of going into that FOMO of, wow, that person's got this big business. I'm sure they could send me lots of leads, but are they the right leads?
Right.
So I think, and there's probably, probably have your own filtering system around this, is I think there's like two to three levels of how you might evaluate a partner. I would love to hear kind of your filtering system, if you will, and I might infuse a little bit of mine too, because I think there's the initial kind of outreach and clarifying, and then there's okay, like let's see what happens. We many of my friends we call that the dating phase.
Yeah.
Like, is there enough good energy that it keeps going? But then there's more to look at. So let's unpack that.
Yeah. And definitely you have to do your homework beforehand. Just like we're just going to go down this dating space. Like before dating, you wouldn't just, sure, I've never met you before. Let's get on a blind date and go out for dinner. Like that's an extreme relationship. Yes. So you're going to do your homework. You're going to take a look at people, and then you are going to have conversation. I haven't seen any recently good partnerships that have come out of just email conversations. So I think people need to get in front and have conversations with people. Almost all of my conversations in Zoom are with the camera on, mostly because, and Melanie knows this about me, I talk with my hands. I don't know how to not talk with my hands. If that bothers somebody, or if the way that I'm speaking bothers somebody, or if it bothers somebody that a kid comes in possibly, or a dog might run through, like those are things that are a part of my world and my business, and I want that to be very genuine and authentic. I try my best to keep like a really healthy space, but in partnership conversations, it's about being real and creating relationships. So if that weirds somebody out, or I get on a call with someone and it's a weird vibe, I had this experience of a very well-known person with a very, very large email list and a huge audience. I was so stoked to talk to him, and I got on a call for representing one of my clients, and I was like, yes, let's create a deal here. The first thing he did is ask me how many people I could send to his webinar. And I was like, so great. Let's talk about like, who do you like to work with? Like all the good questions that I needed to ask. I was about 5 minutes into that call, and I got such a weird internal vibe from him that I was just like, yes, I'll follow up an email. Bye. And I like cut the call short. I was ready and will always be ready to let go of the big audience with the big thing and the shiny object thing, because that person didn't make me feel comfortable about how they were going to treat the people that I'm sending to him. And I think that's huge. So that's that second vetting process, is a little bit of intuition. I think partnerships is about that intuition that you feel when you're having conversations with people. And that's why every single one of our partnership deals that we make for any of our clients, there is a person sitting across the screen and having a video conversation with somebody. And it's imperative. And then there's like the deeper conversations, right? Like like Melanie, you and I have had so many different interactions and created so many different things because we have such a good relationship. And we take it to that next level, that deeper dating phase where, we're like actually going out to dinner regularly together, or whatever you want to say. Because we have created so many wonderful things together and we see the fruition of it. Now, that fruition doesn't necessarily mean that we're always seeing the financial numbers coming through it. We're seeing about how our relationship impacts the people that we have in our audiences. And we love working together. Like, I always want to work with people that I love working with. So I surround myself, and anybody I introduce anybody to, I'm surrounding myself with people that I really enjoy. And I feel like they're going to support and impact their world in a different way, not always financially. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so here's what I'm hearing you say, and I know because we've had these conversations, is like there's this initial barometer of, you know, avoiding the ick factor and making sure that there's real values synergy.
Yeah.
Then there's, okay, so we've got past that. Now, what can we actually do that makes sense? Like going into some kind of a structured opportunity. And basically you're test driving it, right? You're going out on you're going to date a little bit and see, does this continue to have the needle moving the right direction? Because we can like people. We were talking about this earlier. We can like somebody. There's a lot of people I adore, but the results aren't necessarily there to do the structured partnership. So let's talk about that line in the sand where it's like, I love you. I think you're amazing. but for this deal, the results just aren't there. Or, how do you evaluate that and maybe draw that line, especially if you're kind of a connection oriented person where you want to keep the connection alive, but it's just not working on the result side?
Yeah. I think there's first the numbers will also support a relationship. And anybody that you're creating a good, healthy relationship with, especially in your partnership deals, they're going to understand that the numbers are just a part of the conversation. If you and I get on a call after a deal and we say, "Hey, look, this did not resonate with whatever list we sent this to or whatever audience we promoted it to, what else can we do?" And I think you can only have those good conversations with people when you do have a good rapport. If you have people who are transactionally oriented, they're going to be like, look at the numbers, it didn't work. All right, it's over. I think strategic partnerships look at the numbers and look at the relationship and say, what can we tweak? What can we do better? You wouldn't go and send out an email and see that it has no clicks and then just give up. You're going to test. You're going to test and you're going to tweak and you're going to do A/B and you're going to do all the things. It's the same with strategic partnerships. If one thing doesn't land, you created a relationship to say, let's try something else. Or, hey, I saw this worked for my audience. Do you have anything similar to that? Whatever it might be. Sometimes it's in January, it's planners. People love planners and they want to look at that. And so that's where the conversation can continue. And there is a line. There are two parts to a partnership, right? There are the numbers and there's the feeling and the gut reaction to it. And then seeing the relationship past what is actually in the bank account or, bank account, I'll say in like quotes, like it could be leads coming in, it could be whatever your partnership deals are made of. I'm sure, Melanie, you have a bazillion different episodes about what that looks like. But for our things, we're just talking about strategic partnerships and using those to really grow a long-term sustainable business because nobody started an online business just to quit because it didn't work the first time. And I doubt any of our listeners are in here saying like, well, I tried it once, it didn't work, I'll never try it again. No, they're going to go and they're going to iterate. So that's what strategic partnerships are for me.
I love this so much. And I think it's an important distinction, this transactional mindset versus the strategic long-term partnership mindset. I have had several conversations with friends and colleagues over the last few months where it's like, okay, we sent them like 200 opt-ins and we got like five back, right? Like what happened, right? Or what is the intention is like we have such great synergy between what we teach, but the partnerships aren't performing. What are we missing? And like being willing to lean into the optimization rather than just going, I'm out, it's not working, is where I think pure gold emerges. And it's like when you're in a relationship with somebody in general, just because you had a bad like experience doesn't mean you want to get tossed to the curve. I had a really interesting experience, Marie, and I think you'll probably get a deep cringe from this. Very, very well-known marketer who pursued me for an opportunity, and two things happened. One, she was charging an entrance fee, which I don't have a big problem with. But she basically said, like, once you hit a certain number of opt-ins, you get that back. Well, then when we didn't hit that in the first day, which I told her we wouldn't be able to get the first day, she kicked me out of her event.
Oh,
And I was like, huh, that's interesting. It's like, okay. And it was what I find so fascinating is that like that edge that's really hard of like this is the line and if you don't make the line, you're out. Like we're just not doing stuff together. So I like the approach you're taking, which is like, how can we do better? How can we learn from each other? How can we grow into the opportunity that's really here, but we can't find?
yeah. And I think there's also a part as a business owner to continue to lean on your deeper why. Like, why are you doing this business in the first place? And that should also go through all of your conversations, partnership conversations, client conversations, sales conversations. If that thread is always there, it will look and feel organic. Like my deeper why of like is impact, but it's also to help people get visibility faster so they can do the bigger things that they need to be doing in the world. And I use marketing and visibility marketing through partnerships as a way to help grow businesses. Like
Mhm.
that is always you've probably always been in my conversation, no matter which client I'm representing, possibly at that time, or myself. And that's the biggest thing. And when you go towards transactional, especially for people who don't have any flex in that, it can feel off. And we'll say this, and in strategic partnerships, as you grow and scale your business, your partners know each other. They're probably doing deals with each other. And when you have that hard line, I find that's the time where you stop getting recommended to other people. And that's where your referral base starts to dry up. I've seen it over and over and over again. We have a very healthy database of partners that we worked with for the last 5 years. My team keeps it up to date. We talk to people often, and there's a blacklist on there. And that can be either somebody didn't show up, they didn't do what they said they were going to do, or they're just, well, not nice. Like, we'll just say not nice. And if you get to be that, you are putting yourself in the world of the person who doesn't get recommended to other people. And if you're in partnerships, recommendations and introductions are gold. It's huge. It's the way that I run my business. It's the way that I find more partners for my clients. If I don't get introductions to people, things start to dry up, and that's not good for me. So I feel like there's this next layer of thing that if you're not playing the right kind of long-term strategic game, even if it doesn't work, even if Melanie, you and I have a deal and we've done 3 deals and none of them work, and we're like, it's okay. I still love you and I'll still send people to you. It might just not be that these audiences are working together. And that I think is long-term strategic, healthy partnerships. Even if you're not doing deals together, you can still send audiences to each other. So that kind of was in a circle, but I'm just like, there's a couple soapbox moments. I'm like, ugh, I don't know if we're gonna have enough time to unpack them all, but I
Oh,
love
we could
this.
do a whole hour on this for
Oh, I
sure. Um, and there's little nuances that you start to discover for yourself. Like, where does that audience or that partner who it should work, it's not working? Like, okay, so maybe they have people who are at a different stage than where you specialize and what your messaging and your materials work for. Or, and this happens a lot, like I find that people who are in different countries, as much as I'd love to partner with them, they don't always make the best partners because their, dollar exchange looks different when it gets into the US. So there's just a lot of things to consider. What is the ecosystem that they're creating about the work that you do? Do the audience wonder like, okay, well, why would I hire you when I can get something over there from the person that referred me, right? It's just there's so many factors. And so I like this idea. It's like you need to just lean in, explore, figure out where's the complement, where's the synergy that's really going to pop. And if it doesn't, it's like, hey, maybe I'm just going to refer you to other people because I love
Mhm.
what you're doing. This just isn't working. I love
Yep.
that.
And we do that a ton in my world. Like in the JV manager world, partnership manager world, we have an entire group. We just refer each other all the time. Like not all clients are going to work for me. They might work for somebody else, but that's just good. That's just good karma, if nothing else. Like let's help
Sure.
businesses grow and make sure that the people who need services are getting those services. Like that's the biggest thing. Like that's a business conversation, but it's also a partnership conversation. Like if it's not Melanie doing stuff, is there somebody else who can support a client? The biggest thing is that person gets the support that they need. And let's just be open to that impact of the world. So definitely, I love that you're saying all these things and that your experience is just so in depth in the partnership world. I'm just excited to even have a conversation and be in the same room with
Oh,
all of the things that you've done. I'm just so grateful.
thank you. Well, what you're really talking about is what I consider part of the definition of being a ripple maker. And we all have our part to play in making ripples happen in the world. And that's it. I want to tackle one more thing before we get into my standard fun questions I like to ask all my guests. But, we were talking about one of the kind of the limits that oftentimes comes up for people who are really interested in strategic partnering, and they start to look at like, okay, so if I'm going to strategically partner and people are promoting via email or social media or whatever the platform is. But now I have a limited amount of space that I can return those favors and I can, share their stuff to my community. What's a piece of advice you could give somebody where that's a stumbling block or literally a barrier for them to move forward on strategic partnerships?
Yeah. This is a great question. I get this all the time, especially people who are new to partnerships. A lot of them will say, I don't have an email list. Like, how am I supposed to support somebody who's emailing for me? Or I don't have an audience yet, or I'm just growing. And the flip side, it sounds like, people who have a healthy and packed promotional calendar and they can't necessarily always fit in other promotions. There are so many different ways to make strategic partnership deals work. I can do this all day. This is my superpower. I love it so much. An email for an email is not the only way to get visibility for people. As long as strategic partnerships is talking about visibility, there are so many different ways to do it. Example is if you can't email from me, but you can introduce me to 5 people that you think are going to be my perfect clients, I will take that. Thank you very much. I don't need an email to 10,000 people. I would love to be introduced to 5 great people that I think I can convert to actually having clients. Like, think about that. How big would that be in your business? And if it's not an email, talk to your partners about, hey, I have a podcast. Would you like to be a guest? Yes, I'm looking for content over here. How great. A lot of people are doing summits for lead generation. They're looking for speakers. They're looking for people to come in and be the experts there. A lot of people also, like, I can go all day. A lot of people have like masterminds and they need content inside of there, or they need trainers because they have a very specific thing that they're training about. But then they need somebody who is complimentary to come in and say, hey, can you create a bonus training for me? Yes, absolutely. I would love to be the bonus trainer inside of everybody's programs because I feel like partnerships is a great way to do any kind of business that's out there. But I can't necessarily show you how to grow your podcast or how to do financial planning. Like, that's not my forte. My forte is creating really great relationships. So those were just ideas at the top of my head that it does not have to be this email for that email, these leads for that leads. Like, it can get so creative and amazing. The biggest thing is having open and very open communication about what you need out of that deal, out of that partnership. And some people will just say, hey, I'm going to mail for you. You just send me the commissions, but can we bump them to 100% on a low ticket? Like, sure, that's fine. Like, whatever it might look like for you and your business. I'm going to kind of circle back to the conversation we were having earlier. You should sit down and have those kind of thoughts in your mind on what you would love a partnership deal to look like, and then create that before you even have the conversation with somebody. I think it's in service of any relationship that you do your homework, not only on the person, but what you need out of that partnership before you get on a call with someone, because time is valuable. And I think we can get a lot done if we come to calls prepared. So that's an important part of partnerships is coming prepared, knowing what you need, asking for those things, and then also saying, hey, I don't think this is going to work for whatever reason, and protecting your audience before you start promoting something that you know is not going to be a good fit, because that's really your position in life, is to protect the audience that you have. So I hope
Yep,
that makes
true. You
sense.
got to take care of your audience. You got to take care of your community, and that trust and credibility can't be broken. So that's where it all begins and ends, right?
Mhm.
I know people are going to be curious how they can connect with you, Marie. What's your favorite place to connect with new people?
Yeah, I am on LinkedIn. I will tell you that's the only social media that I'm actually on. Like, if you go to look at a lot of my other places, I choose to spend my time on LinkedIn. It's a great place for me to connect to others and make introductions. So if you're going to connect on LinkedIn, message me, say hello, let us know that you found this conversation helpful. I'm so thankful to be guests on so many different podcasts that I get introductions and like new messages often. And it's a great way to start a relationship. So LinkedIn is my place to go.
All right. Well, we'll make sure that is linked up in the resources for you all on the show notes. I always like to ask some fun questions at the end. I'm going to just do one today. And I'm really curious, based on the work that you do in the world and just how I've known you over the last few years, What would you say was the boldest decision or action that you've made that's brought you to doing the work that you're so passionate about today?
Um, the biggest thing was saying yes to the first big client that asked me to support and manage a 50-person giveaway. It was 5 years ago, and lead generation was happening a lot on giveaways. I had never done it before. I knew I can communicate with people, but it kickstarted an entire business that I have found as not only a true love of mine, but a part of my human design. I started looking at that and figuring out like, this is who I'm meant to be, is to have relationship conversations. It was huge to say yes to something that I felt was way outside of what I could do at the time. Um, but so, I mean, biggest thing is just saying yes to something you're just like, I'm not sure. And somebody else agrees that we can do it together, we can figure it out, and we can create big impact around it. So it was a big leap for
Leap of faith.
me. Yes, it's a big
Yeah.
leap.
And
And
I think
now I'm
that's
just
when
like,
we
oh,
met.
I could do a giveaway anytime. Sure, whatever. Like, let's just do it. But that moment, it was
You're like,
huge.
oh, giveaway. Okay, now. And I think actually that might have been when we first met, if I'm
Probably,
remembering
yes,
properly. Yeah.
definitely.
Well, Marie, you're such an inspiration, and I love your philosophy around this, which is why I wanted to have you here today. We've been talking a lot about collaborations and partnerships, and I see them as such an extraordinary way to kind of supercharge your ability to reach new audiences and clients. But I got to tell you, part of it for me is the friendships. I have so many extraordinary friendships that have emerged over the years. Marie's becoming one of them, where, it all started with the seed of how can we support each other. So if there's no other great inspiration for you, then you're building a network of super powerful people all over the world that have got your back and will help to grow with you. That's a lot of incentive, in my opinion. So, Marie, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. We're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.